The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
The family of a former fire chief say, yes, he cheated, but his wife died naturally. And a Florida teen gets a plea deal after killing his mom. How he drew support from women across the country. And what does our power panel think about this emu in police custody? We've got a lot on deck for you, so let's get right to Court of Opinion. Welcome to Court of Opinion. I'm Julia Janae, your moderator for this hour. Thank you for being with us. A trusted fire chief, a frantic 911 call, and a secret romance, prosecutors say, turned deadly. We begin this hour with a case where investigators claim a husband's double life ended in murder. Kevin West is the man on trial, accused of killing his wife, Marcy, to run away with his mistress. Now, Kevin reportedly told 911 dispatchers in January of last year that Marcy had a seizure and stopped breathing. But later, a medical examiner took a closer look and determined that her cause of death was asphyxia with blunt neck trauma, prompting Kevin's arrest. And that's where we find him now on trial, charged with first-degree murder. The defendant took the stand today in his own defense, but the court has restrictions that we can't air testimony until court ends for the day, and it's still going on there in Washington. So let's get you caught up on what happened in that trial yesterday, including the defendant's family testifying.
Did you ever do anything for your mother to make her feel good? Would she ever request you to do something to make her feel good?
Yes.
What was that?
A lot of the time it was Diet Pepsi and a massage.
Kind of walk me through it. How would you start it? What parts would you touch? How did you touch them? Give us a general description of what you did.
Sounds good. Usually I would be starting at the shoulders. Sometimes I do side shoulder. Sometimes back with the knuckles, and then I'd use elbow on the, valley between the neck and the shoulder, and then I'd go kind of high center neck too.
When you did this, how would your mother respond?
Depending on how hard I was pressing, she would let me know if I was pressing too hard.
Ted, would you be able to demonstrate the massage that you gave your mom on the CPR dummy there for us today?
Sure. Usually I'd start at the shoulders, and I'd use my thumbs, kind of pressing in with the front fingers and back. And then sometimes I'd go to the side and kind of do some circles on the side. Sometimes I'd be kind of doing circles on both sides of the spine. I would also do knuckles here at the neck. I would also do elbow here and behind the carotid here. And then I'd also do it right about here on the neck.
When was the last time you came home before she did this?
It was winter break. We had just celebrated Christmas and New Year's, and she drove me back to my dorm right after New Year's.
How were your mom and dad getting along at that time?
As far as I was concerned, they were getting along fine.
And how did you get back to school?
My mom drove me.
How was that trip?
It was good. Partway through the drive, she experienced a severe headache. Asked me to pass her the ibuprofen bottle. We had to pull over multiple times. I almost had to take over driving.
How did you find out about your mother passed?
I was at the Starbucks at Suzzallo Library. I got a call from Dad asking where I was. I told him where I was. He told me to come to the dorm right away and that he and Ted were there. I walked back to my dorm. He walked me upstairs, sat me down, and told me that my mother had passed.
How was your dad emotionally when you saw him?
I could tell he was very shaken when I first saw him. His eyes were red, he was shaking, very distraught.
Do you know who Cynthia Ward is?
Yes.
Yeah, who is she?
She's my dad's fiance.
When did you find out about her?
I found out about her after a gathering we had at the house.
Did he indicate whether it's somebody that just started or have been going on? Do you have any idea?
Not at that moment, no.
Did he ever clarify that?
Yes.
What is your understanding now?
A few months later, we were at the trailer he was living at. I can't remember which RV park he was at this time, but he pulled me outside. He's like, I haven't been completely honest, but Cynthia and I have been seeing each other for a few months now.
Okay. So that means even before your mother passed?
Yes.
So his family knew about the affair, and they generally supported him and are still supporting him in court. How does that impact a jury? Let's talk about it with our guest. We have with us attorney and former litigator Lisa Bonner, and family law attorney and law professor Randy Kessler, and criminal defense attorney and former head New Jersey County prosecutor Bob Bianchi with us. Welcome to everyone. Thanks for being with us. Lisa, let's start with you. Affair, these family members say they knew about, and generally they still supported him. But what about the fact that they still support him in court? What does that say to a jury when the entire family, which technically is also Marcy's family as well, the victim?
Right. Well, you know, it's so interesting because the family is standing 10 toes down behind the father. And they have gone to bat talking about her issues with eating, her migraines, that she was really not feeling well. She didn't have the best health, that she walked around with a purse full of Advil. They are really behind their father, which is going to play very well for the jury, because you have to remember, they have evidence that the medical examiner said, listen, she was strangled. So you only need one, and if the family behind them says that, it says a lot.
To this jury.
It says a lot to the jury.
Randy, family law attorney, what do you think about this picking of sides? Do you often see that when one of the spouses is an admitted cheater?
Yeah, well, when one of the spouses is dead, you know, you only have one live parent to bond with, and you want with all your heart for that person to be innocent, to be in your life, and not to be behind bars. So there's some motivation there. But also, when prosecution plays the motive game, and we all know you don't need to prove motive, but you got to answer that question for the jury. Why would he do it? Oh, he had a girlfriend. If they're going to play that game, defense has to play the other game and say, it's not really a motive. The kids knew about it. They're a happy family now. They're getting along. They're sad about their mom. So I think it's a response to the motive game that the prosecution's playing.
Bob Bianchi, your opinion of where we are in Kevin West's case, and specifically the fact that he's on the stand today.
All right, well, as a former homicide prosecutor and a person who ran a prosecutorial agency and now does criminal defense work, I got to be honest with you. I have literally watched investigations occur that when there's a situation in which there's a divorce happening or there's an extramarital affair, investigators tunnel vision into there's the motive, and they exclude other evidence to the contrary and disregard evidence to the contrary and go after the usual suspect. And many times I've stopped that from happening, and the real person who committed the murder was eventually charged. So you have to slow that roll down. The last point I want to make here, and I'm sorry to my prosecutor friends out there, but I've said it when I was a prosecutor, and I'll continue to say it because I just had a murder case dismissed, a homicide case dismissed because of faulty medical examiner opinions. I have been dealing with this for 30 years as a prosecutor and defense lawyer, jumping to conclusions. Investigations start going sideways once they do it. I hope the forensic evidence is excellent. I hope the ME was excellent, but I have literally listened to them say it was one cause of death and it turned out to be something else. Literally shaken baby in my state of New Jersey that ultimately turned out to be pneumonia. Big difference.
Yeah, that does happen. Let's actually take a look at one of the defense theories in this case, and that has to do with an intense massage that the son who testified said that he did on his mom not too long before all of this happened.
Usually I'd start at the shoulders, and I'd use my thumbs, kind of pressing in with the front fingers and back. And then sometimes I'd go to the side and kind of do some circles on the side. Sometimes I'd be kind of doing circles on both sides of the spine. And this could be with fingers, knuckles, or it could be with my elbow.
Lisa, what do you think about that imagery in court? Because he's not only supporting his dad, he's almost putting himself in the line of fire, saying, I may have done something to prompt this.
Right. I mean, you know, again, we're talking about the sibling, the son supporting the father and the only, again, remaining parent. And he is giving some really visual evidence. He's backing it up. I mean, anything could have happened to them. We have dueling narratives, though. It's really going to depend on what the evidence shows, the medical examiner, which is also backed up by a forensic pathologist. So you do have dueling narratives, but you only need reasonable doubt. And the son is in there saying, listen, I gave my mother an intense massage. So anything could have happened in terms of, you know, blood clot traveling to the brain or anything like that. But you have to be so careful. The evidence is going to, the case is going to turn on the medical examiner's evidence, the forensic pathologist's evidence. You do have tunnel vision, and oftentimes in this, you are always circling in a lot of times on the husband, especially when there's an affair, as we talked about earlier. But the son and the daughter are doing their thing in there. They are really backing up the father.
Randy, this was a long-term affair. I mean, there were dates thrown out there about 2004. Maybe his whole family didn't know about it.
There was a gap in the middle.
Right, a gap in the middle, but someone that he had been with for a long time.
Right, and he obviously could have thought about 100 different ways to be with that other woman. You know, the last one on the list would be murder, and that's what the defense is going to argue. He, you know, didn't murder her in 2004 when he started fooling around with her. He didn't, well, tell me I'm wrong.
No, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but they were in the midst of a divorce. He was about to he was serving papers the next day, from what I recall. Then there was a letter to the mistress that said something along the lines of, this time next year, we're going to be so happy. So, I mean, no, he didn't murder her in 2004, but there's certainly evidence that suggests...
You have to be very careful with this kind of evidence. This is how innocent people get convicted. There are affairs happening and statements like that going on all over the world right now, and they don't result in murder. What I want to know is, let's be honest, guys, maybe nobody hears him. I mean, I'm just saying, strangulation and killing somebody by strangulation is not a genteel process. This is an extremely violent way to kill somebody. People are struggling. It takes minutes of your hands around someone's neck, incredible force in order to kill somebody who's fighting against you.
What about the original report? The original report had nothing to do with strangulation, so the defense is going to be all over that.
Where are all the bruises? Where are all the marks? Where's the fingernails? Where are the scrapes? I mean, maybe they're in the case. I haven't heard it yet, but you would expect to see a lot of significant forensic evidence beyond just like petechio.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun closing. The fun closing is, oh, they had a regular death that was, you know, something medical, and then, oh, we got cheating, we got this fire chief, and we can say strangulation, let's get some more medical evidence. The defense is going to have a field day with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to turn on if they can really prove this forensic evidence that she was strangled to death. I mean, like, there is evidence, strangulation marks.
They've got the medical examiner's report, and in real time, the closing arguments are actually going on in front of this jury. That judge says we have to wait until the end of the day before we can air it. So we'll have to air it when we can next on Court TV Live, but we're going to be able to see Kevin West on the stand in his own defense and the closings. This jury is close to getting this case. We have to leave it there. When we come back, we're breaking down the key evidence the jurors have seen so far in this one, the au pair affair murder trial, how a fetish website allegedly led to a deadly encounter.
The Court TV podcast will return.
At some point, while you were working for the Banfield family, did your relationship with the defendant change?
Yes.
How did it change?
It became sexual, physical relationship.
And do you recall when the relationship changed?
It was August 2022.
Let's head now to Virginia. After 3 days of testimony this week in the au pair affair murder trial, jurors carefully examined some of the most compelling evidence in the case. The defendant here is Brendan Banfield, a former IRS agent, and he's facing life in prison if convicted in the deaths of his wife, Christine, and another man, a stranger to them, Joseph Ryan. Prosecutors say the murders were part of this scheme between Brendan and his family's au pair, Juliana Maglahays, who he was having an affair with. She has already pleaded guilty to to manslaughter, and she took the stand to testify against him this week. There was no court today, and of course, court is dark on Monday. Everything resumes on Tuesday. So let's recap the best evidence jurors have seen so far. Here's what our team chose as number one: the 911 call that defendant Brandon Banfield made alongside co-defendant, the au pair in this case. Now, after Christine and Joseph were killed is when this call was made. The au pair called 911 at least 3 times, but she said she hung up because Banfield told her to until he was ready for her to call and report this emergency. Now, the third call, Brendan began speaking into the phone and explaining what he says happened. Take a listen.
Derek Rosa, 911, where's your emergency?
I need help. My friend, she just was attacked in the knife now. She's bleeding a lot. I don't know what to do anymore.
And what's your name and what's going on?
My name is Brendan Banfield. I'm a federal agent. This is my house. There's somebody here. I shot him. But he stabbed her. She's bleeding. She's got several marks on her neck. What do I do?
The prosecution says this was all a ruse, that it was actually Brendan Banfield who first shot the man who came into his house that he had lured there and then stabbed his wife to death. Let's bring in our guest panel, Lisa Bonner, Randy Kessler, and Bob Bianchi with us. Randy Kessler, what do you think about that evidence, the 911 call? Does he sound sincere to you?
No. I mean, how do I know how I would sound or you would sound? You know, it's hard to judge how you would sound, but when you put it all together and you hear all these other facts, and I'm a federal agent. You know, when you're devastated because your wife is being stabbed, you're not bragging about being a federal agent. You're just saying, help, get me an ambulance, get me some, you know, basically he's explaining why the person died and how they died. He's already got it pre-thought out. I mean, why go through all that trouble? You know, all these pieces, one of them's going to fall, 2 of them are going to fall. They're all falling apart for him.
There are a lot of variables. Bob Bianchi, your opinion on this evidence?
You know, it's almost so unbelievable to almost think that it's not truthful. However, I have literally handled a case like this where the planning and the plotting that goes on, and to me, the extra special je ne sais quoi of the sickness of this case is that they brought this random dude in to kill him, if it's the truth, if the jury believes this, to make it look like he's the fall guy and he gets murdered in the process. So I've handled a lot of strange, twisted, and peculiar murder cases. I've never handled one that I've seen where they brought in the fall guy who gets murdered too. It's especially sick and heinous to me.
Many twists in this one, Lisa.
Many twists, from the soundproof windows to the 3 times calls to 911, to the lying in wait, to the FetLife website, to the, you know, hold it, I'm a federal agent. I mean, it plays like a suburban film noir. I mean, it's so unbelievable. I think this man is going down like the Titanic.
Okay, you mentioned FetLife, so we're gonna get to our best evidence number 2. Ooh. And it's this: the FetLife account that Brendan and Juliana, according to prosecutors, allegedly made under the name Anastasia. So this is part of the entire scheme. As we're saying, luring Joseph Ryan in was through this website where they posted Christina, the victim here, and said that she was interested in a meetup where someone would come and perform violent sexual acts, essentially a rape fantasy. Take a listen to some of those messages. These are not their actual voices being read aloud in court, but read by our Court TV producers.
Because I am super excited and looking forward to meet your aggressive Dom side.
Yeah, so my limited blood play experience. I did it once 9 years ago. My ex was poly. We were getting back together, and one of her roommates cut her too deeply and put her in the ER because he's a moron. So we discussed a scene. I used a razor blade to do long, shallow cuts along her back and down her legs.
Sounds intense.
Now again, Anastasia, prosecutors say, was actually the au pair and Brendan Banfield posing as Christine. Randy, I don't even know who I should have to react to that first, but Randy, let me go to you.
All right.
It's risky, but it's disturbing to some people to kind of hear that, but for others, this is very normal for them.
It might be the most clever thing that they did, is to pick a fall guy that everybody wouldn't like. You know, a guy that would do something like this, that would fall for this, that's been through that. that's about the only thing that sort of says, you know what? If you're going to pick a fall guy, at least the guy who died was not as likable as some other people. I mean, I'm stretching there.
Well,
but
no, there's a lid for every pie.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, Lisa, go, and then Bob next.
Yeah, there's a lid for every pot. I mean, you know, might not be our MO and how we operate, but just because someone has a fetish fantasy does not mean that they are a bad person. He is allegedly, the gentleman said he had engaged in this before, which is fine, you know, but the entire ruse just sounds so, that's the problem.
Well, the interesting thing would have been jury selection.
He brought a knife. They asked Joseph Ryan to bring a knife with him, and he did.
Yeah, I mean, let's assume that the jury convicts this guy and that he did it, and that the co-defendant's testimony is the truth. We have no reason to dispute the prosecution's theory of the case right now. I have to ask myself, how dumb is this federal agent? You've got clever? You've got to be the dumbest federal agent ever in the history of federal agency. Well, you're creating an electronic record. You always have to worry about not only getting caught when you're creating an electronic record, but that your co-conspirator and co-defendant who may be friendly to you today becomes a foe later on. And you presented information or have information out there that could be used to pin you in a murder. This is literally the dumbest thing you can do as a federal agent. And maybe the defense attorney is going to say, he has to be being set up here because no federal agent would ever do something so stupid.
Okay, Bob says he's dumb for doing this, but he got off for 20 months. And the only reason they were able to go after him was because the au pair flipped. Right, I'm pretty surprised they weren't able to connect him to this sooner.
And it's sort of like what Bob said before and what he's saying now. It might be such a extraordinary, crazy situation that people say there's no way that they pieced all that together. There's no way he did all that. That's about the only defense they have left, especially when somebody flips on you. But the other thing Bob's right about, if you're going to do something like that, co-conspirators, it's just a matter of who flips first. When lifetime in jail or telling your partner. It's not a hard choice for most people.
Time served.
All right, we're going to go to our final evidence that we have for you tonight, the letters that Juliana wrote to Brendan while behind bars. So I mentioned there was an extended period of time after she was arrested and behind bars, but before Brendan was behind bars, about 17 months. She was arrested about 7 months after she was involved in this, and she admits to that. Now, in these letters, she said she would do anything for Brendan and would take the blame rather than turn against him, but that didn't hold water. She did take a plea deal and testified against him, and she's going to get time served. Take a listen.
I can bear living this without you. It's too much pain that I don't want to live like this. I can't. I just don't want to feel this way anymore. It's a torture. I love you more than anything. Well, they arrested me for the obvious reason, right? But they want me to cooperate against you because according to them, I know more than it's being said. I would do anything for you. If they want me to turn against you, if they think or whatever they believe, and if they want to blame me for that, that's okay. I can take the blame. I'll never do anything to hurt you or against you.
So again, those were the letters before she flipped. Let's ask our power panel about this co-defendant and her flipping. I mean, that's making the state's case.
It is making the state's case, but she's 25 years old. She's away from thousands of miles away from home. I'm not surprised she flipped. I think it was, obviously, we saw this coming. I mean, she is facing life in prison or take this deal. But the two things can be true at once. She can have flipped and she could also be telling the truth. I mean, who knows what he was saying to her in the interim. He could be sweet talking her to try and keep her from actually flipping evidence. So that's not uncommon. While
100%, because she's saying, I will protect you, I will defend you. And that person who actually was in on it and in together is now saying, you know what, I finally got some love.
No longer doing it. A lot of our viewers, Bob, are really upset about this plea deal.
Yeah.
The prosecutors have something that they've got to deal with here, and it is the plea deal. Because the defense, I know as a prosecutor that if I'm flipping somebody, I better be getting some substantially good evidence from them that I can corroborate. My case cannot be built on a witness who's giving letters like this up, lying about that, who may have had all sorts of motive to commit the killing, maybe commit the killing with the person who's also dead, and then blaming this guy for whatever reason.
And would you give time
so
served?
Prosecutor,
and would you give time
if
served?
I'm flipping this... No, if I'm flipping this witness, though, what I'm trying to say is the sweetheart deal that she got is something that the defense is going to use to its advantage. Who knows if she's not completely lying for this deal? So they better have some goods other than just her testimony, or they're going to be sleeping with the dogs and catching the fleas. And by the way, last point. Have I ever given a 10-year sentence to somebody to flip in a co-defendant case? If I couldn't prove who is the person who did it, yeah, I've done it. Right. Sometimes I got to hold my nose and do that in order to win a case against
You
somebody.
could have given her a few more years, she'd still come clean.
Yeah,
and the final word.
Maybe.
They also say they have blood evidence, so we'll see what evidence comes up, because the DNA evidence is really going to be what seals this. The defense the prosecution got in front of this in opening arguments and said, listen, they were having an affair. There is some sketchy, evidence that's going to come, testimony that's going to come from the au pair. We want you to listen to it, but we also have other evidence to back it up. So we'll see how that plays out.
Testimony is going to continue in that case after the holiday. We have to take a break. But next, we're going beyond the gavel. This child was just 13 when everything unraveled. Tonight, we are going to explain to you the case of Derek Rosa, the disturbing details that led to a surprising courtroom outcome today.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
I'm sorry. That's your room.
Today was a big day in court for Derek Rosa in Miami. He was 13 years old and an honor roll student in 2023 when everything changed. Rosa did the unthinkable, stabbing his mother, 39-year-old Irina Garcia, to death while she slept next to her newborn daughter's crib. Now, Derek Rosa immediately called 911 asking for medical help that would arrive too late to make a difference. He was arrested and charged as an adult for first-degree murder. And here's how he explained what happened to police while he was in custody.
Let's get back to your mom. Okay, you said she was sleeping.
Yes.
Okay. Where exactly did you cut her?
At first, I cut her right here.
And her neck?
It's like a type of vein that goes to your neck right here on both sides.
Okay.
And if you stab here, a lot of blood sprays out right
Do you know what that's called?
Like an artery or something.
An artery?
Yeah.
Okay. And you purposely went for the artery? When you
Not purposely, I just went for the neck, but I hit the artery.
Okay. Was there a lot of blood after?
There was a big puddle of blood on the floor.
Okay.
Now, here's the evidence that prosecutors had against Rosa. Not only his confession that you just heard there, but the internet searches he made on, quote, best way to kill someone and carotid artery. There was also a DNA match to Rosa on the knife handle that was used. Cell phone messages were also retrieved from his phone, where he admitted to the killing and sent pictures to friends. And just before all of this was about to go to trial on Tuesday, today, 15-year-old Rosa opted to plead guilty to second-degree murder.
Has anybody promised you that something different than that was going to happen if you pled guilty?
No, Your Honor.
Is anybody forcing you, threatening you, or making you enter this plea against your will?
No, Your Honor.
Do you wish to enter a plea of guilty to the charge of murder in the second degree with a weapon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And in exchange for his plea to that lesser charge of second-degree murder, he got a 25-year sentence. Now, in Florida, he could have received up to life without parole if he had gone to trial. He's also going to serve 20 years probation after he is released. Let's bring back in our guest panel, Lisa Bonner, Randy Kessler, and Bob Bianchi. Lisa, I'll start with you. What's your opinion of the decision to give him a plea deal?
Well, I think you have to look at the fact that he was so young when he committed this murder. He did testify, he admitted to it. He clearly would have been locked up to life. And do I agree with it? I'm in such a tough space because he was so young, but he definitely deserves to spend at least 25 years in prison, without a doubt. Do I agree with, I mean, he would have gone to jail for life, to prison for life. So I think he did the right thing in taking this plea deal. They saved the taxpayers a lot of money.
I'm going to jump out to Bob, our former prosecutor. We see a lot of kids go down, some as young as 14, 15, 16, and they get life.
So the last two cases we covered, my issues were, are the prosecutors doing their job with regard to whether a person did it or didn't do it? Not that they didn't do it. My concern is, do they have enough evidence? In this case, we have copious evidence, and may I add, it's very twisted, disturbing, sick, and his response to it, lack of remorse or recognition for what he did, says to me, and this is not professionally speaking, but off the cuff, that he's a psychopath. That this is exactly the kind of person me as a prosecutor would want to take off the street for as long as is humanly possible. And unlike those other two cases where maybe a jury will find him not guilty, I'm pretty confident as a prosecutor I can prove this case. I got the evidence to prove it. I got the confession to prove it. He is going to be found guilty. So I would not. Personally, at 13, he knew what he was doing. He purposefully did it. It's sick, heinous, and depraved. And if he did this, he's going to get out. He's going to get out in his late 30s, 40s, whatever it may be, and be back in the world again. As a prosecutor, I would feel the moral requirement not to allow that to happen.
Randy, what did you think of seeing him on video?
You know, he looked normal. He didn't look like he was out of it. He didn't look, sympathetic. He looked like cold-blooded, cold-hearted killer. If stabbing your mother 46 times doesn't warrant life in prison, off the streets for good, forfeiting your right to be amongst the rest of society, I don't know what does. I can only think that maybe the prosecution had a little inkling that maybe one person on the jury might say, this poor young kid, I can't convict him because he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail. That's the only thing I can think of. But 46 times stabbing your mom,
see, you have to also remember that the kid was 13. I am not excusing anything that has happened. It is a heinous crime. He clearly would have gotten convicted, but the kid was 13, and I think that is what heavily played into it. And we're saying that he'll be out in 25 years. That is assuming that this kid gets in there and does not do anything else, because the judge laid it into him. He said, listen, you commit one...
You want him living next door to you?
No, I don't, but he's going to be in there for... He's not coming out early.
But when he comes out, he's going to live next to somebody.
That's assuming that he's...
I want to show you all someone who actually, or a group of people who actually, it's very interesting that they support Derek Rosa. Now, NBC6 South Florida, they interviewed one woman who is part of a group of women who have traveled across the country to support Derek Rosa. So we've got video of them in the courtroom wearing shirts supporting Derek Rosa. They are not affiliated with him. They followed this case on social media. I think we have the video that we can show first of them in the gallery. They are wearing things with his face on it. It's kind of reminiscent. There it is. Of Luigi Mangione. Now today, they were not allowed to wear anything because the judge admonished them at the last hearing. But let's take a listen again to that NBC6 interview.
We're here to support Derek Rosa's case. We want Derek Rosa's freedom. We don't want Derek Rosa's rights to be violated any longer. His constitutional rights is being violated as well. We want Derek Rosa's freedom. We want justice for Irina Garcia. We want the real person who committed this passion crime to be charged fully. Derek Rosa did not do it. He's a child.
Lisa Bonner, what do you think about the traveling women, mothers who are supporting a mom killer?
That is a bridge too far. Now, I'm all with the, trying to take a plea deal because the kid was so young and they don't have, maybe not have the requisite frame of mind, but that is a bridge too far. I cannot get with that.
His constitutional rights, he's got a constitutional right to spend the rest of his life in jail.
Yeah,
he's got a biblical right, thou shalt not kill. That,
Yeah, nobody understands. People are throwing around a lot of big words, constitutional right. They don't,
Bob,
no.
They thought someone maybe in the background of the 911 call manipulating him. He was talking to some of his video game buddies that were remote. They just wanted more of an investigation, but who knows how they feel about this plea.
Listen, I mean, I'm glad to at least hear that they feel that he didn't do it, as opposed to that he did it and they want him to be released because they have some sort of fanboy love for this guy. What can I say? I have no comment. Okay, you want to excuse. If you believe this story, this guy who killed his own mother, think, that's what America's all about, freedom of speech.
Yeah. Bob Bianchi, used to having random people in the gallery, no doubt, when he was prosecuting cases. Let's get to our break. Coming up, though, we're going to get hot takes on the cold facts from our panel. We'll get their opinions on today's biggest cases, including new details about 2 accused killers, how their past may have contributed to the deadly crimes they are accused of carrying out.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Let's get right to the hot takes on cold facts. Our court of opinion experts, they've got strong takes on all of the trials we bring you here on Court TV, but we're going to get their takes on the big legal headlines developing today. Let's get the cold hard facts on our first headline. This one out of California. New reporting reveals that Nick Reiner was placed under a mental health conservatorship starting in 2020, about 5 years before he was charged with the fatal stabbing of his parents. Now, that conservatorship, according to this reporting, ended in 2021. Reiner is accused of killing his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner, and now faces 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances. If convicted, prosecutors could seek the death penalty or life without parole, making his mental state a central focus as the case moves forward. Let's bring in our guests. We have with us Bob Bianchi, Randy Kessler, and Lisa Bonner. Bob Bianchi, I'm going to start with you. 25 seconds on the clock so we can get to everything before we have to go. What's your take on how this conservatorship will impact the case against Nick?
Let's make a distinction between mental illness and legal insanity. They're 2 different things. It's very difficult for the defense to show that he was unable to appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct or conform his conduct according to law. I don't think it means anything. I think it's sick and it's twisted. It's a horrible murder. And if I were prosecuting this case, unless they gave me compelling evidence to show he didn't know what he was doing at the time of the murder, it would mean nothing to me. Move on.
Moving now to Randy Kessler, what's your take on this new information?
It helps the defense, right? This whole case is about mental illness and mental incapacity and us trying to put our rational minds inside the mind of somebody who is not rational and doesn't think the way we do. And so that's their whole case. We can't explain how he acted because we're all normal, rational people. He's not. This is one more fact that shows this guy didn't have it together mentally. They should have known it a long time ago, and you can't fault the victims, right? They did everything they could. One more thing they did to try to protect him from his own mental health.
Lisa Bonner, when people hear conservatorship, sometimes they think Britney Spears, people trying to protect someone from themselves. What do you think it'll do?
Not much to move the needle. It was 1-year conservatorship. It's going to turn on a lot of other evidence in terms of his medical records, whether he's fit to stand trial. This is just one cog in the wheel. I don't see this really rising at this point to the level of not guilty by the reason of insanity. He's got a tough way to go. I mean, this does not do much to move the needle in my opinion.
If that is his defense, that is certainly a hill to climb. Let's get to hot take number 2. A grand jury indicts the man accused of killing an Ohio dentist and his wife in their home. That happened today. Michael McKee faces aggravated murder and aggravated burglary in the deadly home invasion of victims Spencer and Monique Tepe. He also faces multiple firearms specification type charges. That indictment that was released today revealed that McKee is accused of using a silencer or muffler on a firearm during the commission of the crime. Now, he is expected to be extradited soon from Illinois, where he was arrested, to Ohio, where these charges are filed. Lisa Bonner, your reaction to that information?
I do not understand how any of these men with such esteemed careers are going to throw it all the way for nothing. A silencer, it proves that he is trying to silence the Big Bang, and it does not do anything to bolster his innocence. It makes him look guilty, and I'm trying to figure out why. What was the motive?
Let's go out to Bob Bianchi, former prosecutor. Tell me what a silencer and muffler do to a case if you're prosecuting.
Chose premeditation for sure, and the why typically is a life that's unraveling, a guy who couldn't get over the fact that his wife moved on and his life is stuck. You're going to find something about this guy's history that was a breaking point, and that there was something that happened where he just felt like his whole life was over, and he threw it all away by doing this. Last thing I'd say to my prosecutor friends out there, dot I's, cross T's. Don't stop with the arrest. Make sure you eliminate suspects so you don't give the defense an argument down the road.
Now, Randy Kessler, there's something I want to ask you about that we've been able to get confirmed, and we've talked about it. In that divorce back in 2017 that he had from the victim Monique, there was actually a more recent entry about a hearing that was put on the calendar for that divorce, but we were able to confirm it was actually a clerical error, and then later the court took it off. What do you think that means, and do you think this defendant may have known or got notice that there was a hearing in his old divorce case?
That's an incredible revelation, right? We've all been talking that maybe he had that break that Bob's talking about 7 years ago when he got the divorce, but like you said, he put it behind him, he moved along, and then all of a sudden some notice from the court comes and it triggers it. It's post-traumatic stress. You know, the worst thing that happened to me is that I lost this beautiful wife and she married another doctor and she's happy, but I was moved far away, I was out of it, and then boom, I get notice of court. I've got to go back and relive this whole thing and revisit it and look at my paper. Oh no, and he snapped. That could be it.
Who knows? Who knows? That was back in June. Of course, this happened in December. We'll leave it there and move to our third and final story. And this one, a lighter one for our Friday. A Florida sheriff's deputy responded to a call of a runway emu. The deputy attempted to secure the emu, but the large bird ignored his commands. So after a short chase, he was able to cuff the bird. Yes, cuff the bird and reunite it with its owners. Let's watch.
Interesting. I'm in pursuit of an emu. Come here. Come here, come here, come here. Come on, come here. Come on. I'll be honest with you, I've never handcuffed an emu before, but they'll fit. Are you done resisting? I don't want to have to charge you. Don't talk back to me. Now you're behaving, aren't you? Secured. Look at that. I have a full set of cuffs on this emu.
That was video from St. Augustine, Florida on TMX. Who's gonna answer about the emu first? Randy, go ahead. Give us your take on the emu.
I think Liberty Mutual did this. It's a stunt to get more time, because all I can think of is liberty, 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 right? They just put it out there, and now we're all thinking we got that song stuck in our head.
Bob Bianchi?
I mean, you know, think about what cops have to deal with all the time, you know, and this obviously is I hate to use the pun, but a very foul situation for this officer to be involved in, but he did an excellent job given that short foot chase.
Oh, yeah, short foot chase. We're going in as well, a Talon chase on foot with that bird. And body camera rolling, Lisa. I'm actually surprised that that's a situation where the body cam gets turned on to make sure you capture everything.
That's going to be the highlight of his weekend. I can tell you that made my weekend, but I will say this, only in Florida. All these things, these crazy funny cases always seem to happen in Florida, so.
Oh, so you're calling it out because it's Florida.
Well, it did happen in Georgia as well, but not to that extent.
Sure. As a Florida attorney, I take a little offense to that, but it's all good. Florida sometimes gets a bad rap. We've got the video, I think, of those little legs in those handcuffs, and we will show that as we are headed out this hour. Thank you for connecting with us. I'm Julia Janae, and I'm appreciative of all of our guest panelists being on with us this Friday night. Bob Bianchi, Randy Kessler, and Lisa Bonner, thank you for being with us, both in studio and remote. Remember, while we all have opinions, they should be rooted in fact, and we have to strive to respect the other's opinion, even when we don't agree. Exercise that muscle of compromise and debate, just like we do here on Court of Opinion, where we have a lot of different opinions, but we explore all sides.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.